welcome back to this F1 25 My Team Career Mode. This is part number 7 today for the Monaco Grand Prix. And for the first time, we're going to get a taster of the mandatory 2-stop Monaco Grand Prix. But let's just quickly recap what happened last time out at Imola. Well, it was a surprise for me, surprise for you guys. Tim Tramnitz absolutely cooking our F3 teammate. Pretty much fair and square, beat us over that race weekend. He outqualified me, was quicker than us in the race to get us initially, and then we kind of played the team game to stay as we were, basically, because we didn't score any points. It was a bit of a difficult weekend in terms of out-and-out pace, but what did happen was we did get up to level 2 fan rating and established officially in-game as a rival of Williams, the nearest team to us, chasing us down in the Constructors' Championship. So the pressure's kind of on. We're actually now fully in that midfield fight. Your R&D wise, points wise, we have arrived in the midfield. No longer just back markers, kind of taking the sheen off the new team on the grid, so to speak. So as we go into this episode then, before Monaco, we've got one owner perk training point to use. And I'm going to use it to purchase the first corporate perk, because I felt like now I feel like we need to pivot to maybe earning more money, because I've spoken a lot about the fact that we're getting bottlenecked by essentially not having enough cash or needing to spend money on facility upgrades. And so the biggest aid to that is just earning more money, you know, via sponsors, you know, whatever, you know, other ways we can do it with the activity timeline, but also delving into the owner training, because we actually get a booster of 10% income from the corporate facilities with that first initial perk, and then I'm sure other perks down the line will aid that. And while speaking about corporate and sponsors there, going into the Monaco Grand Prix, I couldn't not. Going to this one, we're going to have a Monaco GP special one-off livery, and hopefully you'll agree with me, this looks so class as a one-off sort of retro vibe for the Monaco Grand Prix. This is one of the other kind of base liveries that is available in the game as standard, and I was tempted to use this initially in the career before I actually had that extra X-Forming livery, but I think this livery works better as a one-off sort of retro vibe, especially with the line work on the side of the car and also on the main part of the chassis down to the nose cone. Kind of gives me a little bit of the Golf livery vibes from McLaren, what they did in 2021. Of course, though, this being in our aarava Archer Racing colors, the white, the black, the fluoro Volt yellow, and you can see all the sponsors in either white or black, simplifying everything as it would have been, you know, back in the day, basically. And having to actually move around some of the sponsors. I mean, for the first time, we actually have an X-Forming logo as standard on the side of the car, and then a couple of sponsors just having to move them ever so slightly to make things work. But yeah, hopefully you'll agree. It works really well. Nice and slick. You know, this team is a brand new team in Formula 1, so there's not much history to it, but it kind of almost still feels familiar in a way, because it has essences of retro liveries gone by. So for a one-off for Monaco, I think that's a pretty nice treat, and some new overalls to match, of course, as you would have seen on that starting screen. But anyway, let's get into the performance of the car more so than the looks of it, as we unlock another tier of our facility for the engineering. That one for the powertrain. That was the powertrain breakthrough upgrade. So we have now unlocked an additional set of engine upgrades that we can go ahead and try and research, because I spoke about this in previous episodes. I felt like now, because we've got to the bottlenecking, we have to decide which part of the car we delve into first with the extra upgrades, the next tier upgrades. And I think based off what we've seen with the engine temps, maybe a little bit of lack of straight line speed or acceleration, I think having a better battery, better ERS mode in the race, having just more engine power will be very useful to us right now, because honestly, in terms of the aero and chassis and the balance of the car, it's actually feeling pretty damn great. So I think honestly we just need a bit more engine power, and then I'll actually feel quite good versus the cars around us. And speaking of the cars around us, we have now officially crept above a third team. Haas now are just below us in the vehicle comparison chart, so we're right in the middle of that that, you know, 7-pack of midfield teams, you know, very close together, and then you've got the top 4 kind of in their own world, and that's going to take a little bit and a while to kind of bridge. But right now we're focused on this midfield fight, basically. And can we actually maybe maintain the sort of form we've been having? Obviously, there was a massive bit of luck in Miami, for example, and maybe it was honestly a crash down to reality in Imola. So how is this one going to go? Well, whatever happens with our pace, it's going to be interesting because it's that Monaco first time ever mandatory 2-stop. And because of that, I mean, it's worked out anyway with the kind of, you know, every other race we've been swapping between Jensen and Tim. I'm going to be driving as Tim Tranmere. I wanted to anyway for the Monaco GP, knowing that, well, we've seen in real life that you could play a big team game to help each other out, and I feel like we could play a big team game with Tramnitz to help out JB at the Monaco GP. But first of all, it's time to get to qualifying, the most important qualifying of the entire season.
Now, if you ask anyone who's raced here, they'll tell you, nowhere in the world is more important to get a high qualifying position than here on the windy, chicaney, challenging streets of Monaco. We're about to set the grid for tomorrow's race, but potentially for the end of the race too. So welcome along, everyone, to the Monaco Grand Prix qualifying.
So some somewhat overcast conditions for qualifying. Thankfully, there's going to be no rain for this first ever Monaco on F125. That would have been just a whole other layer of chaos that we maybe didn't need in this one, because the two-stop mandatory strategy alone is going to be very interesting. Because, of course, in real life, it really didn't work as intended, and there was a lot of fishy games happening. And to our benefit, I'm thinking we could maybe play our own fishy game today for this first Monaco on this game. But right now, trying to do the best we can over one lap. Monaco looking pretty gorgeous, I must say, with the sun just piercing through the clouds. The engine is slightly worn here on Tim Tramnitz's side of the garage, but it doesn't matter. We don't need power around here. It's all about the downforce, the maxed out wings on the setup, and it's the driver that can make the real difference here. And I'm hoping that myself and JB can make that difference to drag this car up the order, because it is a very promising Q1 in P4. Button P14, bit of time to find there, but it was a bit of a mental Q1 because we've got some people over 3 seconds slower. So I think there was a little bit of maybe traffic issues or whatnot, or just the simulated times were a bit off as we now get into Q2, and it looks even more doom and gloom, I must say. Looks like the rain is threatening, but I assure you there was no forecast for any, so I think we're all good. And if anything, this is aiding the visibility, I guess, into some of these corners, because usually I've always felt Monaco on this game is set at the wrong time of day, and it's always at sunset, it seems to be like, especially for qualifying and then into the race. So it always is a bit of a hamper of spotting your brake zones around the Principalities. We now come through the final corner, ease it in, get on power as early as we can. DRS open, but staying to the right for the shortest run to the line, and we're up into P3 as it stands. But what can Jensen do at the moment? Running P9, it seems. We've got a bit of traffic ahead of us, but I hope that won't hinder him too much. And thankfully, even if it did, he's through in P9. Again, some big time discrepancies, but this is a moment to celebrate. It is the team's first double Q3, and actually beating that, I think it's even our first Q3 anyway, even as a single driver, isn't it? I don't think we've got to Q3 before, so this is really, really awesome to see. Piastri and Russell, though, they get knocked out. Those are two big names from two big teams out of there. Both Williams out. They'll be disappointed with that, but we're very happy with that versus our new, assigned rivals in game. And I want to point this out because this will be quite vindicating for the team itself to have a performance like this. This is on 110 AI, the max AI you can have, and this team legitimately, my AI teammate, has made it through with me. So the car genuinely is working that well around here. We're both driving that well to get this car into the top 10 shootout. So this is very promising. The vibes are high as we go into this top 10 shootout for the first time. We're just spectating Jensen just to see how his lap goes through this session. It's still pretty damn overcast, so I don't know if that's affecting things. Maybe track conditions slightly colder. Is that playing into our favor? It's going to be a question mark, really. We can't answer for sure. I'm not expecting us to be right up there in this session. It's just the fact we've got through. So even if we came 9th and 10th, that's a massive win for us. It helps us out a lot, obviously, in the race. JB at the moment, P8 ahead of Antonelli, struggling to find the time. But hey, he's in Q3 and Russell's not. His more senior teammates knocked out, but now it's our turn on this one and only lap this will be, as we've saved a set of softs maybe for the race tomorrow, because we don't know how it's going to pan out with the 2 stops mandated. So I wanted to keep a fresh set in there. And also, to be fair, based off our performance, I was just actually quietly confident that we could do a job in this session, but it's always about putting it together at the right time. You know, we did it under less pressure in Q2, but now here, top 10 shootout, first time being here, is Monaco. The pressure is now building, and it is a little bit high as we just have a little snap of oversteer, a bit too eager on the throttle through that right-hander before the tunnel. Now coming out, the sun piercing your eyes, but not as much at the moment, with the cloud cover helping us in that kind of regard. Navigating the chicane over the bump, very, very close to the wall, on the left, on the right. It's a purple middle sector apparently as we go through swimming pool, and we are again flirting with the barriers. Slow it down, lock up though on the front right. That would have hurt us a little bit to rotate the car a little bit understeery through the final corner as we now run to the line, crossing it, and it's just going to be enough to get up into P8, narrowly ahead of JB. And I think that's going to have to be it. We're going to have to accept that's where we are in P8. I think if we had matched our Q2 time, we could have maybe got ahead of Ocon and Alonso, which would basically have been best of the rest, the top of the midfield teams, because obviously Haas and Aston, well, Haas, I mean, Ocon, we just saw Haas is below us in the R&D chart, and Ocon's got up to P6, just showing you that driver, the driver focus can make a big difference. Ocon's been the difference for Haas, but it's the man from these parts of the world, Leclerc, on pole, and it's quite an amazing 1-2 front row lockout for Ferrari. That is massive as we go into Sunday.
A proper road race, and in the true meaning of the word. That's how Mr. Monaco, the late great Graham Hill, once described this iconic event. The cars we drive have come a long way in the intervening half-century, but still we race on those same public roads beside the Mediterranean. There's no victory more coveted than that of the Monaco Grand Prix. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Tsunoda, Lando Norris, and Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Tremnitz, Button, and Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Albon, Piastri, George Russell, and Sainz, Stroll, Gasly, Jack Doohan, and Ollie Behrman, Lawson, Hulkenberg, Bortoletto, and Isaac Hadjar rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And alongside me here today in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. And the whole world of Formula One can't exist the way we do, walking with smiles on our faces and loving our time together. This new outfit has got a bit of a rivalry going, and I get the feeling a few noses are being put out of joint here.
Well, that's a good thing though, Crofty. You know what? If you're a member of that team, the new 11th team, take it as a backhanded compliment. It means you're doing very well, too well, and the other teams don't like it.
That's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet to hear from the comm box on the race intro from Anthony Davidson, actually referencing the rivalry we now have with Williams in-game. So if you weren't paying attention or you skipped ahead, you just missed it. Anthony Davidson referencing that Williams maybe not liking how well we're doing, and that rivalry is very much on. Whether that means their drivers will drive better, I don't know. In past F1 games, I'm talking like many years ago, that actually was a mechanic. Like, if they were designated as your rival, I always felt like they instantly improve their performances. So I'm hoping maybe subtly there is something like that, and they will try that little bit harder. I mean, they both got knocked out in Q2, so it's a great start for us versus them. But it's a big unknown as we form this grid for this first ever Monaco GP on F1 25 with the new 2-stop mandatory rule. In real life, it caused chaos. It caused a bit of, you know, scandalous team play. Is there going to be any of that today? Can we do any of that maybe to our benefit as a smaller team in F1, just as the likes of V-Carb and Williams did in terms of their performances versus the bigger teams? Let's see. I guess we're about to find out. I mean, initially, I'm just going to try and go as quick as we can and see where we end up in the opening laps, and then we'll see what's what. But I think either way, Monaco is usually pretty chaotic on the F1 game anyway, a lot more than real life, as we go to 5 red lights. The duel in the Formula 1 calendar is underway as it's lights out. It's going to be a tight run into turn 1, but we're finding the room on the left-hand side, squeezing past Ocon and Alonso for a fantastic double overtake. Leclerc will lead from pole position. Hamilton versus Verstappen for second place. Max is trying to get contact, though, between the two former big title rivals here in 2025. They've come together, and Verstappen has a bit of major damage. Whole end plate is off. That's going to hurt, surely, around a track like this. But it maintains then a 1-2 for Ferrari. Verstappen, Norris, Tsunoda from ourselves in P6, driving as Tim Tramnitz. Button P9, so he's at least kept position then and not lost out. Piastri up to P10, Antonelli down to P11. So it's looking quite similar to real life, you know, the two Mercs down the order and near some Williams cars. Oh dearie me, are we about to see some imitations going on? Can you imagine if that actually happened? That would be unreal. But anyway, as we now focus back to our POV, and we're looking to keep up with Yuki Tsunoda. We made quick work of Ocon Alonso and trying to see if we can keep up with Tsunoda, and we are actually through that final couple of corners. Tsunoda quite weak on the entry to the corner. On the exit, though, look how good that Red Bull is on traction. That's going to be frustrating for us, because if we're good into the corner but we can't get him out of the corner, that's just the kind of just the worst place to be, because it just teases you in for the overtake, but we can't actually get near enough to then make that pass. We need that final little oomph of acceleration as we get onto the straight through the tunnel. Lap 2, can we go for the dive out the tunnel? It's going to be a close one. Banging tyres. Tsunoda does well to defend, and that's fair play. That's fair play. I tried it, but it didn't work. We were a bit too audacious, but you know, that's what you want to see. We gave it a good go. No one got hurt. It's all fine. Wheels were banged, but it's fine. We continue on, and if anything, we've actually helped ourselves out in terms of Tsunoda. If we keep on fighting like this, he may just drop out of DRS from Norris, and that'll be quite ideal to help us out in the straight line speed department, because then maybe could we get close enough into one of these turn 1s to make a move as we drift through mid-apex there, and we get very close to the wall. And if we carry on like this, we'll be meeting the wall at some point. So maybe we just need to rein it in a little bit on the aggression. By the way, you may have noticed, I haven't mentioned it so far, but pretty much everyone apart from Lando Norris ahead of us is on the hard tyres, Lando on the medium. So all of us trying to go longer into this race. And this is quite the opposite to what we saw in real life, where you know, many trying to opt for either a soft to get it out of the way or a medium was really the tyre of choice. Whereas here in the game, all of us going for hards, most of us going for hards, and this, you know, could screw most of this grid over if there's like an early safety car, because then you don't have a hard to go to later on, for example. So we'll see how this plays out. Obviously, this is also probably more because of the high tyre wear we're seeing on F1 25, which has obviously been so great for the AI battles, but it's making sometimes an unorthodox strategy in a place like here in Monaco. As you saw there, frustratingly, we tried to go for another little half move on Tsunoda. It hasn't worked. Now we're defensive versus Fernando Alonso as we cut onto one of the best camera shots in Formula 1. Leclerc going through the swing pool at full pelt in his Ferrari, leading over 2 seconds to his teammate Lewis Hamilton in a pretty convincing 1-2 for Ferrari. Verstappen with that damage to his front wing, losing pace now and holding up Lando Norris, but Tsunoda nowhere near him because we've held him up enough trying to fight him, and so he's not within DRS, and we're still still piling on the pressure to the Japanese driver trying to break into the top 5 here. That would be quite something. Meanwhile, Button still P9 as per usual in Monaco. Not many movements happening at the moment, but you feel like maybe when Norris starts to feel some tyre wear, I wonder what his pace is going to be like. As I alluded to, the tyre wear has been pretty high in this game, so surely he's going to feel that at some point, and the pace will start to drop. It won't matter though, as there's a red flag early on. Lap 5 is for Ollie Behrman, who's blocking the entire track at Mirabeau, I think that was. And so, what I just brought up is coming to fruition. All of us on hards, are we not screwed a little bit? As I mean, to be fair, that's a good reason for a red flag. Behrman spins it and pretty much blocks nearly the entire track. We've got 2 cars in the wall then, with Bortoletto blocked by another, so good reason for the red flag, but frustrating here. Actually, you know what? No, hang on a minute. Is there a second set of hards then? I did not realize that. I thought there was only going to be 1 hard tyre for the race, but I guess the allocation has meant that all of us have another set of hards. I tried to play around with maybe going mediums to maybe get a jump, because I thought, you know, maybe we try and jump some positions on medium, then try and hold track position later with hards. But if hards are available, if we started them, why don't we just keep going on? And I thought the AI would do that as well. So I've not taken the risk just in case I've made the wrong call. We're going to trust what our in-game engineers want us to do as we go to 5 red lights once more. And it's a sluggish start for the McLaren. Could we get ahead of Lando Norris into turn 1 with 3 wide? Because Verstappen, I think, is there. He is. But you know what? Going around the outside, we may have not overtaken the McLaren or the Red Bull, at least one of them. We've got the other one though. Tsunoda's behind us, and in fact he's behind Esteban Ocon. So we've made the pass on Yuki on the restart as we watch Verstappen go through Mirabeau. He's still got that damage. I swear, he's still got that end plate that is off. And under red flag, you can change things like the front wing. So I don't know whether that's a mistake from the coding on this game, and they've not applied the rule properly, but Verstappen should have been able to change that front wing. So I don't know what's going on there, but he's now driving around still with one hand tied behind his back. And all of a sudden, we could maybe have a chance of sticking with him then, perhaps, if he's still got that damage. It might be a case of visually it's off, but maybe physically, like in the physics and the handling, he's got it on, if you know what I mean. I don't know if it's a visual glitch or not. Let's see, I guess, in the next few laps what his pace is like. Meanwhile, this is a replay of Button making a pass himself into turn 1. So he just watched me get round the outside of Tsunoda, and he's had a good go at getting past Alonso. Alonso comes back at him, so we had a bit of a scrap with Fernando driving as JB last time in Imola. The two of them side by side, AI on AI battle, wonderful to watch, and JB is going to commit to the inside, and hopefully he's going to squeeze Alonso out. I mean, he gives it a good go, Fernando, into the hairpin, little bit of contact, but Button's going to have the better racing line, and he is up one more position in this race, and up another as Ocon comes in for an early stop then into the pits, and Button into P7 then is his, as we try and squeeze at Tsunoda, who is nipping at our heels. Tsunoda probably a little bit annoyed at what happened at turn 1. I think he's been in the wars with Ocon clearly, because that's maybe why Ocon's come in for the pits, and Button now right up his chuff. We're trying to play a bit of tactical work here, because I thought Button's now only 1 car behind me. So can we try and do a big bit of teamwork here? Let off throttle. Oh no, I got stuck in neutral for a second, the hairpin, and Button is through into P5, and he's going to owe me a drink after the race for sure, because we've done him a massive favour, as we now run 5 and 6, as there's more drama in this race. Max Verstappen with an engine failure right ahead of us. The Red Bull goes up in smokes, and that's going to be a second free position for JB, who's now going to climb up to P4. We'll be back up to P5. That's almost a bit of good karma for doing that teamwork. We got an instant retirement ahead of us to give back the position we just gave up, huh? That pretty much worked out amazingly for us, as it's Hamilton under big pressure from Lando Norris, and Leclerc, I mean, he looks like he's absolutely walking away with this one. The man from the streets, so it's like knows it like the back of his hand. He's absolutely slapping everyone up as I'm just reveling in this 4 and 5. And I think at this point in the race, it is time to activate the Monaco 2-stop shenanigans. And by that I mean, just as they did in real life, we are driving about 5 seconds slower than we could be going to give Button the pit stop window. Oh, there's a crash behind! It's the second Red Bull! He's out! It's a double DNF for Red Bull at the Monaco Grand Prix. It's a second red flag at this GP. What on earth has happened there with Yuki? I know I was going slow. I wasn't going that slow. Like, I was actually pushing away from him at this point. He's not even on my gearbox. What on earth happened for Tsunoda? It looked like just a bit of dirty air. Oh, big snap in the middle of the corner. Yeah, he just got dirty air. Or maybe the tyre wear kicked in a bit too much for him or whatever. And that's all him. Yuki's made a big error all by himself and crashed into that wall in Sector 3. It's a second red flag. Now, this red flag has made things awkward because now most of us don't have another set of hards. Now we have to go to mediums, and apparently, according to the strategy screen, they won't make the end of the race. That's going to be a little bit dicey at the end. I wonder if we're all going to commit to that last-minute pit stop for softs as we go to lights out for the 3rd time in this episode. And we are running 4 and 5. We're having to go very defensive to stop Alonso overtaking either of us. Once again, we play the big team game here. And we protect JB and P4. But we're about to get a radio that will make things interesting.
Looks like we're experiencing an ERS software glitch.
So, we've got no ERS again. It's the second time this has happened in the last 3 episodes. Miami, we had no ERS. Around here, it's not too bad, but it is definitely going to be an interesting situation coming into towards the tunnel, because you do need ERS for the tunnel. You can see I'm slowing up because I'm trying to deploy the Monaco 2-stop tactic anyway. Again, after this red flag, I feel like that's the only way Button's going to survive this. And in a funny way, this ERS issue is actually helping me slow down the pack behind me. So if anything, the engine and me, we're in sync. We're on the same wavelength. The ERS has tactically failed at the right time where I'm trying to go slower on purpose, as they did in real life, by the way. So before anyone comes at me in the comments for this tactic, this is realism. This happened in real life, and I'm just being as realistic as possible as we can be here.
The guys have fixed the problem with the ERS. It's now available. Okay, the stewards have now enabled DRS. DRS is now online.
Right, so thankfully, as soon as DRS is enabled, we've also got ERS back, so that will help, because although we are going slower, we do need battery at the, straight line points through the tunnel, the main straight, to still stay ahead of the train. But as they did in real life, it's all about LICO, lifting, coasting, going slow. In real life, they're going 5 seconds slower than they could have gone. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing it even better, actually, because lap 21, we have got Button a 30-second buffer. This is unreal levels of teamwork from me. Just as Williams, the team right behind me, did in real life, and VCarb did as well. It's quite funny, actually, just like in real life, the 2 Mercedes cars are caught up in it, and they're caught up in the train, as it's Ferrari and McLaren out front, not having the same issues as Mercedes being caught up in this funny business. We've just seen Leclerc and Hamilton make their pit stops, so the Ferrari's going earlier on that last pit stop, pulling the trigger and committing to that last stop. Whereas I did think for a sec, could Lando, could Button, could they go to the end? Maybe wishful thinking, and we're about to find out. Lap 30, 9 laps to go. Lando will peel in, and I think Button is going to be following him. I think the 2 Ferraris went on to another set of mediums. I think these guys must be going on to softs, because that was the strategy I had on my screen, is going longer on mediums, and you go to softs. As we just watch, yeah, the Ferraris are on mediums, so they've gone earlier and gone to another medium, whereas Lando and Button opting for the soft. That'll be useful in case something was still to recur in these 9 laps, but we're going to watch Button's pit stop because this is the first actual pit stop that Aarava Archer Racing has done in this race. I've done none. I've technically done my 2 mandatory stops with the red flag pit stops, but I've not actually been into the pit lane once today. And I don't think I will, because, okay, we've done the work for Button. He's made a pit stop and come back out in P4. I have done my work, but you can see I'm now in no man's land because everyone behind me made that extra stop. So I've got 7 seconds to Sainz there. By the time it's lap 32, the gap is down to under 1 second. At this point, there is no point me pitting. If I pit, my race is done. I'm out the points. But we're at Monaco. I could maybe drag these mediums to the end of the race. This is the only track on the entire calendar you could say this could be done with this level of tyre wear. My rears are absolutely shot. My fronts aren't too bad though, which means basically into all these corners, my front end is actually pretty responsive. Like, I'm not feeling the tyre wear into the entry of any of these corners. So that means under braking, I can actually defend and place my car exactly where I need it to in the middle, awkwardly being a bit too wide for Sainz or Albon to make a pass. But the rear tyres, it's an issue on traction out of the slower zones onto the straight. So lap 34, Albon is now the one having a go. He's overtaken his teammate Carlos Sainz, but again, we just play nice and easy. Where we go? Safety car. Oh, wow. Oh, it's a big spin for Lewis Hamilton. No, the 7-time world champion is facing the wrong way. Oh, wow. There was almost a horrendous T-bone collision there. Lando's POV is insane, just seeing the side of the Ferrari, but it's a late safety car, and that's going to bunch everyone up. That might make things difficult for my race, but Button now closing up to Lewis, and Lewis is peeling off into Mirabeau's runoff area. He's retired, and so, by miracles, Jenson Button is into a podium position with 5 laps to go with a couple under the safety car. Unbelievable. What am I watching? Here's a replay. Oh, it's a horrendous spin for Lewis Hamilton, and that must just be tyre wear. And maybe that's now showing maybe a mistake for Ferrari to go early onto mediums. They might have been better off going later onto the softs, because clearly Hamilton feeling the tyres. And, well, I mean, Lando's very lucky that that wasn't a crash. That could have been a much bigger incident if he didn't slow down enough. And that could have been Jenson into second, but I'll take 3rd place for him. I will. I very much will. He's in 3rd. The safety car is in this lap. We've not even caught the pack. So we've got about 2 laps to go, not including this one. And the safety car's come in right now, by the way. So we've just got going. It was very awkward to know when to go, because it didn't actually say green flags for us, because we're so far away from the actual green flag running. But we are racing now, full position. And I, as you can clearly see, I am nursing these tyres home. And I've got the entire pack behind me. But this is Monaco. Just like in real life, it is so difficult to overtake on the game, and I am just nursing this car home on nearly 80% worn rear tyres as we come to the last lap of the Grand Prix and we focus on the sharp end. It has been an unbelievably chaotic Grand Prix here today. 2 red flags, 1 safety car, but through it all, 1 man has kept his cool, 1 man has been above it all, and it's this man from these very streets and this principality, Charles Leclerc. He is going to rewrite history here and make it back-to-back wins at the Monaco GP from 2024 to 2025. But my focus is on this man, the 2009 World Champion, back in Formula One, back on these streets that he won at in 2009, now coming through for a historic, groundbreaking podium for aarava Archer Racing. It's going to be our first podium as a team in Formula One, and it's so fitting that JB will take us across the line for it.
Cheers, guys. Yeah, can't believe that. Fantastic. Excellent. Great job, guys. The car is just such a big step forward.
Elsewhere, though, there's still a race to finish as we cut to ourselves so far back, 55 seconds back from third place. This has been the biggest tomfoolery ever. And the best bit is, it's realism. It's realistic to what we saw in real life as we hear the horns blasting from the yachts around the marina as we come through the last sector for ourselves, leading this big train, and we have somehow managed to keep this thing on the road, not in the walls, and we are going to also come through for our best finish driving as Tim Tramnitz. It's going to be a 3-4 double points finish. Unreal. Unreal. I mean, we got, again, like Miami, very lucky with some things with the red flags, the safety car, but oi, we also did some big team play, taking inspiration from, well, this team right here, Williams. Insane.
Charles Leclerc, what a drive, what a victory, he wins.
Well, I'm sure I've seen an increased hunger, increased desire from this driver this weekend, Crofty, as they've performed in front of their home crowd. And drivers often say they feel extra energy from inside the car, and I really feel like we saw that.
It's time to bring out the bubbly and spray it around. It's our podium celebrations. And who gets to take the top step of the podium? Yes, it is I, Leclerc, Charles Leclerc on top.
I knew Monaco was going to be chaotic. I didn't think it was going to be that chaotic for like a Season 1 Monaco. That was insanity. Button up into P8 in the Drivers' Championship. We're in 10th. Well, Tim Tramnitz is in 10th. I mean, we're driving as both drivers, so it's a win for both. It's no I or whatever like that. And as a team, as a unit, this is the important thing. We gain a whole load of points. But the thing is, Williams were right there behind us. They're on 31 points. We're on 45. So it really, the game's correct. Williams really are our in-game rivals. We're both kind of above the rest of the midfield. It seems like it's us and Williams and then the rest of the midfield in terms of at least taking our chances. Like, obviously, performance-wise, we're all really close together. But it's us and Williams taking the chances when they're there to score the points. So that's going to be a really interesting rivalry forming as we gain more fan rating and sentiment as we come off an insane Monaco GP. Guys, if you have enjoyed that, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.